Hello, welcome again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
And we are
the FAIRtax Guys,
still fighting for truth, justice, and
to defund the IRS.
Because
taxpayers matter.
Yes, we do. We will get there.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while, but we will get there.
And some of the news that's been around lately, yeah, we're definitely going to get there.
We're definitely going to get there.
Yeah, the income tax is just imploding under its own weight and bureaucratic nonsense.
Yeah, I can't wait till they try to push the tripling of the IRS's budget through Congress, and people actually have to vote for that, and they have to go back to their districts and defend that.
Jeez.
That's going to be fun.
How do they defend that? Right.
You don't.
We're going to come up with some really good stuff here in a little bit. But first off, following this episode, happy 4th of July to everybody.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Right. But, and now, for Bob's favorite portion of the whole episode, congress.gov.
Congress.gov. You go up to the search function at the top of the page. You put in the words Internal Revenue Code in quotes, and be sure you're looking just at legislation in the current 117th Congress. And when you do that, as of the day we're recording this, June 25th, you will get 872 hits on that search. That is how much the Congress critters are trying to mess with the tax code. And they got some doozies in here this week.
And by my calculations, the House has been in session 100 days, counting today. So that's 8.7 proposals for each day they're in session to change the tax code. And that's just the tax code. 8.7 proposals to almost 9 proposals each day they're in session. Now, those are proposals. Not all of them will become law, but it gives an indication of just what Congress thinks of the tax code. They think the tax code is the be-all and end-all and answer to every problem in America. All right?
Yes. Okay, well, you were talking just before we went on the air here about looking at congress.gov and finding some things that you wonder, what the heck does that have to do with collecting taxes?
Yeah.
I found you one.
Oh, okay, good.
S-2306. A bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to support upgrades at existing hydroelectric dams and the removal of obsolete river obstructions to improve the health of the nation's rivers and associated wildlife habitat and increase clean energy production, public safety, and for other purposes.
And that's a proposal.
What the heck does that have to do with collecting taxes?
Yeah, because it starts out to amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, and then that goes on. What? Yeah, like you say, what has that to do with the Internal Revenue Code?
Supporting upgrades at existing hydroelectric dams. Of course, we don't have the text here, so we don't know exactly what they're talking about. But remove obsolete river obstructions. Does that mean they're going to take all the beaver dams out of the creeks?
Yeah, apparently.
Oh, man. Well, that's what S-2306, a proposal to amend the Internal Revenue Service to deal with hydroelectric dams and obsolete river obstructions and improve the health of the nation's rivers and associated wildlife habitat, and on and on and on.
Yeah, and that's a proposal to amend the tax code.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, this one at least is a little bit more focused on taxes. This is S-2291, a bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to establish a tax credit for production of electricity using nuclear power.
Oh, so they want to use the tax code to promote nuclear power.
Well, they've been using nuclear power to generate electricity for almost as long as I've been breathing.
Yeah.
And now they're just getting around to saying you're going to get a tax credit for it. Maybe they've given it to it and then taken away and given it and taken away. You know, the wonderful stability that we have in our income tax code.
Yeah.
Try this. S-2267, a bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to provide a tax credit for the production of flexible fuel vehicles and to amend Title 49 of the United States Code to restore certain flexible fuel vehicle credits.
Okay, so whoever is behind this proposal, they want to promote these flex fuel vehicles at the expense of something else.
Yeah, that's got lobbyists written all over it, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lobbyists, yeah.
Yeah, that's Senator Amy Klobuchar with that one.
Yeah, and you know how this works, folks. All right. The lobbyist comes in, Mr. or Mrs. Congressperson, please support this proposal and so forth. And oh, by the way, we're going to have a nice fundraising event for you. They can't actually donate directly, but they can manage to have a fundraising event in which the congressperson can raise all kinds of money for their campaign coffers.
And if you want to see the extent to which lobbyists extend control over Congress and how many dollars are involved, opensecrets.org. We did an episode on that a while back. It is just staggering, the number of dollars that these lobbyists have to play with, and the number of companies, different entities that are lobbying as many different things. Boeing does a lot and a lot of stuff that doesn't even appear to be related to their primary field of business.
Yeah,
these companies are still in their lobbying stuff. So that's what that one's all about. One more. All from the Senate this week. S-2267, a bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to establish an income tax credit for the sale or blending of certain fuels containing ethanol.
Oh, they're pushing the
They're on the
ethanol.
fuel kick here. They want the the credit for doing the flexible fuel vehicles, and then another one here.
And that's the corn. That's the corn industry.
Yeah, these are credits, not deductions. These are credits against the tax you actually owe for blending or sale of certain fuels containing ethanol. And again, that's Senator Klobuchar. She's been pocketing a lot of lobbyist cash. Don't you think? That's what we've got this week, and we'll have some more next week here on FAIRtax Power Radio.
And the reason we do this is because we want to demonstrate how Congress is, you might say, addicted to the income tax. Okay, which means it's an uphill battle for all of us, you and the FAIRtax volunteers, to get them to think about getting rid of the income tax, because as we're going to demonstrate here in a little while, the income tax has tremendous problems behind it. Okay.
Nothing makes the case for getting rid of the income tax like illustrating all of the absurdities therein. It's crazy. We got those, and there's some more coming next week. We'll find that every week here on FAIRtax Power Radio. So where do we go now?
Okay, well, there is, let's see, I don't need that window anymore. There was this, I get email from Politico every Monday. It's called the Weekly Tax, and obviously it's an email about tax. It's a report about something that's going on in Congress pertaining to tax. And in this one, which I got Monday the 21st of June, they're talking about the give and take by different members of Congress over the infrastructure bill. All right, and they've got some quotes from some different people, but I'm going to start down here a few paragraphs. By this point, it should be no surprise that those key progressives really want to take this opportunity to hike taxes on the rich and the corporations, because they can't control themselves.
And they think people don't understand that taxes on corporations don't get passed on to the rest of us in the form of higher prices.
Yes, and keep in mind that corporate taxes amount to 6% of the government revenue. 6%. I mean, we've said this before. You would think when you listen to the nightly news that taxes on corporation are going to solve all our problems. So they raise them up, they make it harder to do business, and they amount for 6% of the revenue. I guess they'd like to get it up to 10%.
People pay every penny of it.
Yeah, that's right, customers. Anyways, but the last part of Sanders' statement is also key. The reported offsets from the bipartisan group are so vague that it can be tough to know what to make of them. Case in point, two members of the squad, they're calling it the squad, this group of bipartisan Congress critters that are working on this thing. Senators Angus King from Maine and John Tester from Montana told our team that they think more revenue could be squeezed out of closing the tax gap, the difference between taxes owed and taxes paid. And we talked about this before. Tax evasion is a huge problem.
Why don't you have a system that you can't cheat?
Yeah, and the more complicated they make our tax code, the more evasion takes place. So they want to try to pay for this infrastructure bill by closing the tax gap. Well, I applaud them for trying to close the tax gap, but we know how they want to do it. They want to hire like 80,000 auditors and really go after everybody with jackbooted tactics, Anyways, let me go on here. The tax gap is a pretty big target, perhaps more than $1 trillion a year, according to IRS Commissioner Chuck Reddick, and even the official estimate numbering in the hundreds of billions. Yeah, AFFT did a study on this 4 years ago, and it's up around $800 billion this year, and it's approaching, and that's per year. That's what's not collected each year that should be collected because people are cheating. And it's approaching $1 trillion a year. It's a huge problem.
Yes. People need to read Jade Walley's article, too, that's on FAIRtax.org.
Yeah. So
that's up there. Check it out.
Without knowing more about the bipartisan group's plans, there are plenty of unanswered questions. What kind of policy changes does the group envision to bring more of those uncollected taxes? What will the response from the Republicans be now that they're back to more forcefully criticizing the IRS following the apparent leak of sensitive tax documents to the news outlet ProPublica?
That's a biggie.
Yeah, and what about the budget rules that can limit how much savings from closing the tax gap could actually count under official scoring analysis? In other words, you got two serious problems that were noted in these few paragraphs. One, the evasion, the tax gap. Big problem, all right? And two, what about this leak of sensitive information? If you haven't heard about that, we're going to spend some time on this. But in fact, let's see. I've got my little thing right up here. There was a ProPublica is a. I'm going to read it from their website. ProPublica is a nonprofit newsroom that investigates abuses of power. Secret IRS files is an ongoing reporting project, and they ask you to sign up and so forth. They have obtained a vast cache of IRS information showing how billionaires like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Warren Buffett pay little in income tax compared to the massive wealth, and so on. Okay, so wait a minute. Where did they get this information?
That's just it. Also, Michael Bloomberg was on that list. They got Carl Icahn, the billionaire investor, and they got George Soros. And the idea was that they wanted to, you can just see, political operatives' fingerprints all over this thing. The idea, they want to show, especially now that there's a movement in Washington to try to increase taxes on the wealthy. The rich don't pay their fair share. I've heard that all my life.
Yeah.
I really have. So
they gloss over, though, is that somebody at the IRS committed a felony to give them this information.
Yeah, we'll get there for sure. But the idea is that they want to implant in people's minds the idea that these ultra-rich people, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, the first and second richest people on earth, pay very little. In fact, Bezos, there were a couple of years he paid zero. There was a year where Elon Musk paid zero. They said George Soros paid zero for 3 years in a row. Icahn did it twice. Michael Bloomberg, all of these people. And what the thing is, they're not accusing any of these people of violating the law.
No, exactly.
They are not. They are saying that these people are using the legal loopholes and the legal deductions and all the legal jumbo that's written into the tax code to their own advantage. Big surprise. They can afford the tax professionals to go through the code with a fine-tooth comb and find all these little things that they can use to reduce their tax liability to next to zero. But of course, so we're not cheating the system. Yeah. Those guys are not cheating the system. No, they're taking advantage of a system that needs to be jerked out by the roots and replaced with one that's fair.
Because we've said this before, our current income tax code is written by millionaires for millionaires. Okay? Yeah.
So it should be no surprise that ultra-rich people find a way, including hiding billions of dollars offshore, to keep the tax man out of their pocket. But now we really need to hit on the meat and potatoes of this thing. How did ProPublica get this? If you go to the IRS website, they will tell you in black and white that one of the taxpayers' rights under the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights is the right to confidentiality. Information that you include on your tax return is supposed to be confidential. It cannot be disclosed either without your approval. In order to disclose it, either the taxpayer has to approve it, or there has to be, some legal reason under the law that you can do that. But your information, my information, Jeff Bezos' information, Elon Musk's information, George Soros' information, everybody's information on their tax return is confidential. The IRS guarantees you that.
At least we assumed it was confidential. Obviously, it's not.
Yeah, somehow the IRS's word isn't too good sometimes.
This is not just a couple of tax returns either. Listen to this. ProPublica has obtained a vast trove of Internal Revenue Service data. They're really proud of this, of participating in a felony. It's not a felony on their part, but somebody had to commit a felony to do this, all right? Tax returns of thousands of the nation's wealthiest people, covering more than 15 years. The data provides an unprecedented look inside the financial lives of America's titans, including Buffett, Gates, Murdoch, and Zuckerberg, and so forth. It shows not just their income and taxes, but their investments, stock trades, gambling winnings, and even the results of audits. They got a lot of information there.
Yeah, that is supposed to be confidential.
Exactly.
So there's only one conclusion here. Somebody or a group of somebodies at the IRS with a political axe to grind, a political agenda to advance, thought it would be a good idea to leak all this information so people would just be, really up in arms about the fact that these ultra-rich people aren't paying any taxes, and that would help the politicians in Washington now that are trying to push higher taxes on corporate. Every bit of it's politically driven. And the heck of it is, people that are applauding this and thinking it's a great idea to put all of these rich people's personal information out and use it against them, if the system continues like it is, one day she'll be on the other foot.
Yeah, that's right. It'll be illegal to be in the opposition party. And you'll be fair game. Everybody will be fair game. This is nothing to be proud of or to crow about. This is a serious problem, and it's a problem because we have an income tax that requires all kinds of personal information. Whether you have a young man just starting out, with his first job, or a family, or billionaires, it doesn't make any difference. It's personal, private information. All right, that is required by the IRS. There is a better way.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Get rid of income tax returns entirely. But some people may be thinking, it's no big deal if these big rich guys get their personal information, out in the public eye like that. Nobody will ever do that to me. I'm not a billionaire. I'm a little nobody, and nobody's going to care. What happens? What happens if there's someone at the IRS with a political agenda, and I'll just make this up off the top of my head, that wants to say, for example, hurt the NRA?
Oh, yeah.
They want to take down the NRA. And what's to stop them from leaking the tax information of plain old ordinary, Joe and Jane Doe, who just happen to be NRA members?
Oh, yeah.
What happens if you can be targeted for having your personal confidential data published to the world simply because you belong to an organization, be it liberal, conservative, doesn't matter. You belong to an organization that somebody in the IRS doesn't like, some bureaucrat thinks shouldn't exist.
And I know of a case, this was over 25 years ago because it was before my wife and I moved to Florida, but up in New York State where we used to live, there was an IRS agent who was divorced from his wife, and she remarried somebody else. That IRS agent took it upon themselves to just harass his ex and her new husband and so forth, and just cause all kinds of problems demanding information. Now, and this went on for like over a year. The IRS agent eventually got in trouble himself, okay? But Just think of the hell that he put them through. And if it can happen to them, it can happen to anybody.
Right. If you don't think this is politically driven, let me read you one paragraph out of this ProPublica article. Taken together, it demolishes the cornerstone myth of the American tax system that everyone pays their fair share, and the richest Americans pay the most. The IRS records show that the wealthiest can, perfectly legally, pay income taxes that are only a tiny fraction of the hundreds of millions, if not billions, their fortunes grow every year. You don't think that somebody is trying to, ferment ill will and resentment towards these ultra-rich people?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what's going on.
And the only way you're going to stop this kind of garbage is to get rid of the confidential information. Nobody, whether you're a Joe and Jane Doe with $50,000 a year, or whether you're Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, nobody should have their personal financial data leaked and published to the world.
And this is just another problem that begs the question: why are we as Americans putting up with this? All right, why do we tolerate this? All right, there is a better way to get rid of the income tax altogether and replace it with the fair tax. There's some other things that I want to make a point of. They talk about net worth. Okay, well, net worth is not the same as income.
No.
If one of these people, you or I, or one of these billionaires buys stock, and over the years the stock increases in value, well, that's nice, but it's not worth anything until they sell it. Okay, so
that's what you call wealth on paper.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not in your pocketbook; it's on paper.
But apparently, the people at ProPublica think that should be an issue too. And there are people in Congress that are promoting a wealth tax. All right,
some of them want to tax those capital gains that exist only on paper. Yeah. You haven't sold the asset. You haven't received the actual money. You haven't actually realized the gain, but it says, you got this gain on paper, we're going to tax it.
Yeah, and if they, God forbid that they do that, because it's an exceptionally stupid idea, all right, dangerous idea, then it's only a short trip from capital gains to say, you bought a house when you first got married, and you've been in that house 25 or 30 years. It's worth a whole lot. It has appreciated a lot over the years. Well, guess what? The federal government wants to tax you on the appreciation of that asset.
Even when you haven't realized the gains therefrom.
Exactly. It's a slippery slope, folks. We got to be very careful. This is a dangerous idea. Very dangerous idea.
I don't think you could do anything that would be more injurious to the cause of trying to promote investment. Nothing would suppress people wanting to invest in investment. It's what makes a healthy economy. Yeah. People want to suppress that. They just say, might as well just look you in the eye and say, I want to kill the economy. Will you vote for me? So.
and there's another thing that occurred to me. This is, I'm scrolled down here a ways, but few specifics about individuals ever emerge in public. Well, yeah, that's because it's supposed to be confidential.
Information.
Yeah. And the thing is, they could have written this article and not named these people, all right? They could have said, a billionaire 1, billionaire 2, billionaire 3. No, but they chose to put a name on these people.
Mm-hmm. That's because
their
people
choice.
know the names.
Yeah. So it's dangerous stuff. It's just... We can't go along with this. We really need to push Congress to get rid of the income tax and implement the fair tax. Because today we've mentioned the evasion, a huge problem with the income tax that's not getting any better. And the current administration's answer to the evasion is hire more IRS agents so they can harass more citizens across the country. Okay? Mm-hmm. That's really going to piss people off. It really is, And secondly, the loss of the private nature of your information, supposed to be private and confidential when you send it to the IRS. There is that expectation. Bob read it from the IRS Bill of Rights. But obviously, there's at least one person in the IRS that doesn't believe that.
Yeah, well, you just need to get rid of the system that lets these abuses happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which side of the ideological fence you're on.
Yeah.
That is wrong, just doing it. And real quickly, they said Warren Buffett, true tax rate 0.1%. Jeff Bezos, 0.98, less than 1%. Michael Bloomberg, 1.3%. Elon Musk, 3.27% is what they paid in taxes.
Yeah.
We got a boogie on, man. Time flies when you're just knee deep in this stuff, and just makes you so mad that the system would allow this kind of abuse to take place. And again, it should not depend on your politics. It should not depend on your ideology. You should realize that releasing anybody's confidential information is a bad idea, and it can happen to you.
Yes, it can. All right, it absolutely can. Yep, and you can be guilty of joining the wrong party at the if this progresses.
If they want to release the tax returns of people who belong to a particular party, to a particular organization, just the system has to go away. We got 3 minutes to go here, so.
Yep. By the way, our website is back up and running.
Yes, excellent.
That's good. It's on a new, more secure server, so we won't have that problem again.
And we mentioned real quick, we're going to WTOB in July.
That's right. That's just a few weeks away, isn't it?
Just a few weeks away.
That'd be like homecoming for Bob.
Yes, July 18th. On that morning, we'll be broadcasting live on the radio. If you can get WTOB's internet stream, it's available from several places. If you can get up at 8 o'clock on Sunday morning, we'd love to have you call in and talk to us about FAIRtax. We'll publish the number when we get there. I don't know it off the top of my head.
And we want to mention the FAIRtax 500.
Absolutely.
Which is not actually a race, but we want 500 volunteers to show up at CPAC next year.
Yes, with your FAIRtax shirts and your FAIRtax hats and everything.
Yep.
Can you just imagine what impact it would have on the political and the media people that gather for that event if they just, everywhere you turn, everywhere you look, somebody is promoting the FAIRtax.
That's
say, wait a minute, this is an idea we need to pay attention to, and that has not happened so far.
Now, that is expensive because we're asking, I'm guessing that it's going to be back in the D.C. area.
We don't know
probably.
For sure.
But, and yes, it will be an expense to go there, so we are, and maybe you can't afford it, and we understand that, but if you can, we really need your help, like Bob says, to make an impression on these people, because there's a lot of elected officials, there's a lot of candidates, and there's a lot of media. And we need to make an impression on these people by getting.
It's just a fun weekend.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, it is. We enjoyed it.
To see in person some of the folks that you see on television, and it was good. I got to talk to Leo Terrell for about 15 seconds. It was pretty cool.
He was a busy guy.
Oh,
everybody wanted to interview him.
So he was right there. Right.
And my Congressman Kat Kamek, she was going from one event to another to another to another. We finally caught up with her about 7 o'clock in the evening.
A couple hours after our appointment to talk to her. And so anyway, I said, we got about 30 seconds left here, so we need to ask people to join the 1040 Club if they can. Go to fairtax.org and sign up for 1040 Club. That's $10.40 a month that you pledge to get rid of the Form 1040.
It's 1040 it's fairtax.org/1040.
Yep, that'll do it. I ask you to share these videos with your family and friends. We certainly appreciate that. And that is going to wrap up this edition of FAIRtax Power Radio. Thank you again so much for watching and listening. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
We are the FAIRtax Guys. Again, reminding you that the FAIRtax is the only truly fair tax, and once you understand it,
you'll demand it. Follow the FAIRtax Guys on social media and their own website, FAIRtaxGuys.com, and check back every week for a new episode.